Alas, who needs a balance of power for peace in Europe when you can fly? As Darren thinks to herself, flying is so fulfilling. It's worth a lifetime of lies pretending to be a boy, and a web of deception around that to keep flying. To us, flying in Westerfeld's Leviathan is in a way more archaic, more akin to a sailing ship, but in the sky, than anything we've ever experienced in real life. Ratlines were never a feature of any real aircraft after all. Alas, Darren's experience shows more to flying in this fiction as something more whimsical too. Multiple times, Darren dons personal gliding wings that allow her safe gliding, and at least the possibility of a landing without a parachute and free from injury, possibly. This is something we have yet to achieve in our modern concepts of wingsuits, separate from parachutes and parafoils. And the feeling is such that it's the highest form of joy Darren can think of, short of her love for Alec. Personally, I can't help but wonder at how much of that kind of joy is so lacking in our modern world. From a certain perspective, the prospect of flying a vessel like Leviathan can be a joy, and in so many more ways than climbing the ratlines onto the spine to face the wind. As Westerfeld himself wrote, technology in Leviathan, the story and the airship itself, is both drawn from our past and our possible future as well. Depiction of airship operations is drawn from our past in that, like a ship on water needs proper handling to connect to land, so too does an airship need proper handling to land, which involves managing buoyancy and ballast, as well as landing lines, their capture and security as tied to the ground, and the people needing to be trained and practiced in performing the tasks needed. If you look at current airship operations, our real-life ability to handle any aerostat larger than a Goodyear blimp or Zeppelin NT might be considered something of a lost art. The airship Leviathan also draws inspiration from our potential future, when we get explicit mention of what powers its engines, apart from its cilia, and what it used before Alec brought the diesel engines. Electric motors, using alternating current, from fuel cells, fueled by hydrogen gas. Electric motors would be contemporary to the time, but making them small enough such that several could be carried aloft would be a great innovation, worthy of Tesla, both fictional and the real-life inventor, and something we can benefit from today, if the current news of electric propulsion in aircraft is any indication. Fuel cells using hydrogen is also a major innovation that's being pursued today, that would be greatly futuristic for the airship Leviathan circa World War I. In many ways, it's still fairly futuristic for us today, not least because so many of us are still waiting for its performance to match that of more mature internal combustion technology. For an airship, especially one using hydrogen for lift, it should be more convenient to use some of that gas for onboard power or propulsion, especially when buoyancy management demands a reduction in lift to compensate for loss of weight in flight. Such was the technological challenge that when helium airships that couldn't afford to vent gas used and burned liquid fuel, a large amount of weight capacity was dedicated to onboard condensers that turned the exhaust into water to recover some of that lost weight and avoid the airships becoming dangerously light. Using hydrogen in fuel cells to make electricity, however, gives off water, which can be used as new ballast. In a way, I like to think that fuel cells can function as a kind of buoyancy to ballast converter on an airship, barring the use and safe containment of hydrogen gas. As much as we could benefit from larger airship transportation in our future, so too could we benefit from electric propulsion and the fuel cells to power it. There's yet another innovation in Leviathan that we too might take advantage of in our future, and it's a classic application of Darwinist genetic engineering. In Japan, Alec and Darren encounter an establishment that supplies its steam power using fuel derived from fabricated peanuts. This is a dead ringer for the modern concept of biofuel, with liquid fuel being derived from sugars, starches, and oils of certain wild and cultivated crops. Biofuels derived from crops genetically engineered for maximum fuel harvest would be truly ideal, and perhaps the most futuristic thing we could hope for in modern times. Everything else is peanuts by comparison. Even in universe, there's plenty of room for wondrous innovation yet to come. Much of the story features hybridization between Darwinist and Clanker technology, which started, from our perspective, with the Airbus Leviathan accepting two Stormwalker diesel engines with which to escape German pursuit, even outrunning the premier airship interceptors. Only the metal monowing airplanes could be faster. Leviathan's hybrid propulsion would be mirrored by that of the Mexican Manta Ray airships they encounter, not nearly as large, but just as fast. As unfortunate as the possibility of a second world war in this universe would be, I can't help but wonder at the possibility that flying in their future would involve something like piloted birds of prey as fighter aircraft, with combustion propeller engines harnessed to them for more speed, and the ability to mount weapons just like period aircraft, but with the agility of actual birds made large. Imagine Eagle Squadron with literal eagles. As Airbus Leviathan with its flechette bats and strafing hawks can be equated to aircraft carriers with their bombers and fighters, such fighting birds might form the core of land-based squadrons, or even possibly from water-based carriers. As long as we're on this track, let's imagine Darwinist water-based aircraft carriers as Zaratons, giant turtles upon which fighter eagles are based, because if Darwinist Britain can have literal kraken squid and behemoth sea beasts, then why not? Which is to say, if Westerfeld considers making a new series in this same world, just further on in the timeline, then I expect he'll have some interesting ideas to work with.